Hey guys, so today is the day. It has arrived. So, in today's episode, basically what I'm gonna do is just lay out my predictions for how this election is gonna go, and also briefly kind of lay out my case for why I voted for Trump and why he should be reelected. So I'm gonna get to all of that. My name is Sean Clinton, and this is God of Freedom Show Election Prediction Special. Okay, so let's jump right into it. I hope everyone is having a great week so far, and I know a lot of people are on edge to what's going to happen or not, whether Biden's going to win or Trump's going to win. We will simply find out today or tonight. But again, like I said in the beginning, I'm going to basically lay out my prediction of how I think the election is going to go. I actually have two predictions, more of a kind of a lower estimate prediction for Trump, and then that kind of the higher estimate how I think it would all go. So first off, let's just jump to the electoral map for 2016. So I'm going to put it on the screen right here. So basically you can see this is the map for 2016. And if you looked at electoral votes, Trump won it by 306 electoral votes to Hillary Clinton's 232. Now it's important to pay attention to some of the states right here. So a lot of the so-called, battleground states this time around will be Florida, Arizona, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Those are the key states that we all need to look out for. So in 2016, as you can see right here, that Trump won Florida, he won Arizona, and then he won all three: Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and he also won North Carolina. So, and it's pretty easy to say, at least for more of the two southern states, Florida and North Carolina, right here. I don't think he's in much danger of losing those two as far as the election. But jump to Arizona, it is pretty tight in Arizona too. And then the three states up kind of north, those are very, very competitive right now. So let's jump to my predictions right here. So this right here is my lower estimate prediction for the election for 2020. So what I have right here is obviously Trump winning by 295 electoral votes versus 243 for Biden. Okay, so if you can go back to look at the electoral map for 2016. So kind of the difference is between those two is that I have him losing Wisconsin, and then for Maine of North, I have Biden winning the entire state. So, and honestly, if you look at the polling for a lot of these states, it's not far off, honestly. Let's go Wisconsin, Biden has a 7.2 or so lead in Wisconsin according to the Electoral Politics. Let me make sure that's right. I'm just going that on top of my head. Wisconsin, Real Clear Politics. And Real Clear Politics, in my opinion, is kind of the best as far as, or one of the best as far as kind of polls and everything. They are generally pretty, stable and are pretty good at, bringing out information and all that. So, okay. So I was a little off. So the Real Clear Politics average for Wisconsin is 6.7. So Biden is in the lead for by 6.7. So based on that, that's why it's kind of the lower estimate. I do have Trump losing that state. Now, if we go to Michigan, Michigan, he won last time in 2016, and for the kind of the lower estimate version this time around, I do have him winning the state again. And this state was a hard pressed state, to say the least. This was one of the key battleground states, including also that Pennsylvania was one of those too. But Michigan is pretty darn competitive. Last time I checked. If we'll pull up. Thank you. So as far as Michigan is actually pretty darn tight. So for the real clear politics average for Michigan is 4.2 with Biden lead. And that's pretty good. That's really good for Trump because that's in the margin area for him. And also, so we put aside the polling for a second. Michigan has also obviously been a hotbed this year because of what the Governor Whitmer has done in response to COVID. Like, she has acted like a dictator, just fascist all throughout COVID. Like, now she recently put out this statement that's saying that if you go to a restaurant, you got to give your name, your address, I think even your telephone number too. They're doing some kind of like contract tracing nonsense or whatever. Come on, guys. So it's easy to see, like, for Trump to really ransack that state to win it, because I think the people in Michigan, I've seen a lot of people in Michigan come out saying, okay, enough of this BS. We're going to vote for Trump. So the key state is Pennsylvania. Now, I do have him winning Pennsylvania too in this prediction, the lower estimate prediction. And the reason why I say Pennsylvania is a win for Trump is because just the way the Biden campaign has been working. He said, I'm not going to ban fracking. That's a lie from Trump. That's a propaganda from Trump. I'm not going to ban fracking. There's tape of him and Kamala Harris saying that they're going to ban fracking. And Kamala Harris co-sponsored the Green New Deal, in which the people of Pennsylvania are not going to be up for. They're not going to be up for it at all. And also the rise in Philadelphia is a key component too. So I think really, and based off the rallies that happened in Pennsylvania the last 2 days, I think Pennsylvania is definitely a win for Trump. Definitely a win. So kind of move around right here, go to Florida. It also is the same ordeal as well. So again, this is my lower estimate prediction, which I personally don't think this is far off for what's going to happen, maybe. But we'll see. That's why I have two predictions: one kind of lower estimate and one kind of higher estimate. And I think kind of the actual result is going to be in the medium, in the kind of the middle of those two. So let's jump to the higher estimate prediction. So here I have him winning Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And what's different this time around is I have him winning Minnesota too. As Minnesota is pretty darn tight as well. It's about a 4-point lead for Biden, which again is in the margin error for Trump. So he could very well win Minnesota. So that would be really interesting to see. So obviously, as you see from my prediction, I think Trump will definitely win this election. It all depends on whether it's going to be a close race or kind of a more bigger win for Trump. But we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen, honestly. So I mean, again, take these predictions with a grain of salt, honestly, because anything can happen. Honestly, back in 2016, I didn't think Trump would win. I did not think he would win, but he did. So again, take my predictions with a grain of salt at this point. Alrighty, so to kind of give you my personal case of why Trump should be reelected, in my opinion, I have 4 points for that. So point number 1 is policy. So when he was elected, I did not think I personally think, well, I did vote for him in 2016, I did, and that was really to stop Hillary from becoming president because she was so awful in many ways. But I just didn't think, because most of his kind of famous life, Trump was more kind of a moderate to Democrat leaning guy. So I didn't think he'll actually govern conservatively. I thought he'll govern more in the middle, make concessions to Democrats or whatever. But he hasn't. He's actually governed more conservatively than any other president in my lifetime. And it is important to point out the only other Republican president in my lifetime was George W. Bush. So, I mean, it's whatever, but still, I've seen many people saying, he's the most conservative president we had ever since Reagan. Reagan was obviously one of the most conservative presidents we ever had in this country, and probably considered one of the best in this country. But, President Trump has governed pretty conservatively. Like, he passed the tax cuts, in which, did lower taxes for many people all throughout the country. And I don't mean the rich. I mean, actually, the kind of lower middle class people. Actually, the upper class people, like 20% or upper 1%, they saw a tax increase with his bill. So the whole idea that it was only a tax cut for the rich is a complete lie. Another thing is, he's cut regulations, a nonsense governmental regulations and everything. So that's good. He's moved the embassy of Israel, or the U.S. embassy of Israel, into Israel's capital, which is Jerusalem, which was a historic, great move by him. And that's something that presidents in the past have said they're going to do over and over again. I think Clinton said that he's going to do it. Bush said he's going to do it. Obama said he's going to do it. But none of them did it. Trump said he was going to do it, and he did it. Which is, again, he has fulfilled his promises. He's been very pro-life in his policy. He's, did a number of things to defund Planned Parenthood. They are still funded, unfortunately. But that's really because it really comes down to whether Congress needs to pass something like that, so he can't do it on the whim. But he has done a lot of work, try to get them at least partially defunded and everything. And he's been very pro-life as far as his presidency. Another thing, and really, as far as his governance, again, he has not really grown his power, if you will. Especially let's go to COVID. And during COVID, every other president, I think, Obama, I think even Bush, would have grown their power. They would have probably done a national lockdown and everything, maybe a national mask mandate. But with Trump, he didn't do that. He recommended some things, some restrictions. He recommended it, but he left it up to the states to do what they wanted, which is terrific. No other, I can't name another president besides Reagan who would have done that. That's fantastic. And really good on him, because there's no way Biden would do that. No way possible. And again, we live in a federalist nation, which the power is divided by the state governments and the federal government. And whatever the federal government doesn't have, and power-wise, it is moved back to the states. And the power of the federal government is completely laid out in the Constitution. So it's great to see the President of the United States, actually following that process. It's really great. So point number 2 is that, his character, and let's just say his character is not the greatest. That's why, really, in 2016, I wasn't really a big fan of him. I did not support him in the primaries. I was a Ben Carson fan. I voted for him in Ben Carson in the primaries. But, he won the primaries, and so it became a race between Trump and Clinton. But, again, the biggest turnoff I have with him was his character, his just toxicity and divisiveness and everything. But it bothered me, and it still does bother me to this day. But the thing is, this time around, it is all baked into the cake. So him being reelected, me voting for him, It's not going to change that one way or another. He's still going to be the same guy, no matter what. So that doesn't change at all. Another point is kind of the values behind him. So kind of go back to his character. From what I'm seeing, he could very well recently change that, but I don't see him personally. I don't see that he's actually a follower of Christ, if you will. He kind of plays lip service to it. He seems to fear God, at least, which is a good thing, but doesn't seem kind of the going down of the path of being a follower of Christ. At least not yet, because he's famously said that he has no need to repent, which is nonsense. Everybody needs to repent. Everybody, no matter who you are. But again, put that aside. The kind of the values that he's at least protecting and pushing is really great. It's something that Christians can support. Like he is pro-life in a lot of ways. He's done whatever he can to protect the unborn with anything within his power. And he's been a staunch supporter for the March for Life and all that. But he's also been a big protector for religious liberty, which is fantastic in many ways. So, again, you don't have to. It would be great that if he was a follower of Christ, and that would be a great moment for him if he does come out and saying, I'm a follower of Christ now, I've repented and everything. That would be fantastic. But on a kind of more positive side, he does advocate and wants to support religious liberty. And again, he does seem to fear God at least. So that's all good right there. And on the flip side, to go to Biden, he doesn't have those values. He supports abortion on demand. He's fine with sex switching, if you will, like people saying that, oh, I'm a girl now or whatever. If you're a guy, biological man, you can instead say, oh, I'm a woman now, and Biden's okay with that, even with children and everything. And just he has support of socialism and just all sorts of nonsense that Christians have no business in supporting. So again, you don't have to like Trump's character, but again, look at the values, the people behind him, and all that behind them. And just tell me, how can a Christian vote for someone like Biden with all the ideas that he has and all the people around him versus Trump, who Trump personally is not completely likable, but the people around him and the values he pushes falls in line with what Christians should or usually believe. So that's not really a big choice right there. But number 4, Democrats have lost their effing minds. This is probably the key point right here. They have lost their minds. So there's this kind of saying that went around in 2016 when Trump won. It was this saying: all Democrats had to do was not be insane. That's all they had to do. I said this before on my show, I think a couple of times. Liz says that all Democrats had to do was not be crazy, and they have failed miserably on that. Failed. They have moved so far to the left now that they have openly embraced socialism. They openly embrace abortion on demand, and they react everything that Trump does in the worst way possible. And you recall with Brett Kavanaugh, they tried to railroad his nomination and everything. The media mask has completely come off. But they had just gone insane. Completely insane. So that's why, just the way they have gone, I just don't feel comfortable with them running the country. They don't need that power. We can't give them that power. So that's why, again, I voted for Trump, and that's why he needs to win re-election. So, and I hope many of y'all, take that into consideration. Do you want a party aside that supports kind of the reformation, complete reformation of America, destroying the founding values and principles of this country and everything, or versus a guy who's personally unlikable but will protect those values and principles? I mean, that's a pretty easy decision, especially if you believe in those values and principles. Alrighty, so I think that's all I have for this segment right here. It was going to be short anyways, so yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen in this election. We'll find out tonight. So I'll be back here on this weekend with the election results and all that. So I'll see y'all then. My name is Sean Clinton, and this is the Guide to Freedom Show. If you enjoyed this episode of the Guide to Freedom Show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, you can find this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode is brought to you by Anchor. Thank you for listening or watching.